just to, as part of introducing him, I'm gonna just read a little bit about, from his big resume. Okay, so Ross's passion is twofold. Helping organizations realize the benefits of the technologies and processes available to them, and helping team members and managers reach their potential. Ross has experience in increasing productivity, streamlining processes, and encouraging staff's well-being and engagement within various multinational environments. He has proven track record for achieving results of multiple software companies across numerous industries, such as hospitality, legal, and financial, with specialization in governance, risk, and compliance. So, to make Ross feel welcome, please clap hands for him.
Thank you, everyone. I thought you were leaving the air cons up, so this was the hot seat. Cool. So, yeah, I represent Cura Software. Cura got the Management of Technology Award for the small enterprise in the TT100. So, my role at Cura is to look after our technology, what we have in place, what business processes we run, and just how we do business with the use of technology. And we were started in 2001, so been around for a while. Rocco knows us well.
Yep.
And we've spent all these years sort of staying, or trying to stay at least in that sort of startup mindset, getting that energy that you still have this small dynamic company and everyone's doing everything, which is quite great in a company. But it does have its challenges getting technology in place and things like that. So over the years, we've had our software out, and we started out with desktop software, and we've had to change that as we go. If you don't stick with the times, you completely fall behind. So we had our first set of software, and it took us about 10 years before we rewrote that into something else. So in 2010, we introduced a new web client. Web was becoming like the forefront there. And we had to move, but what we saw as we went along now is that iteration is happening quicker and quicker and quicker. So where we are now with doing a lot of these iterations is we won the IRMSA award for the best GRC software system, TT100 award, and then we've also featured as the top niche player in the Gartner Magic Quadrant against competitors that are exponentially larger than us, the likes of thousands of employees, and we're 68. We're based globally, India, Australia, South Africa, UK, but a lot of our thought leadership comes out of the South African office. So getting back to sort of what we did, and I mean, the TT100 Awards was a bit of a, how can we say, affirmation of what we're doing, being up there with groups like Erex and so on. And we decided that, okay, we'd got this technology. We did, when we went around the first time in 2010, we put in this bleeding edge software that we thought was going to be fantastic, built the system. By the time we got to 2014, 2015, we were noticing that we hadn't innovated enough. So we embarked on a journey to rewrite our product a bit. And as we've gone along in the past, it's been a case of, okay, take your software, improve it, improve it, improve it, improve it, improve it. And that can get you into a bit of a bias for throwing money after something because it's been something you've invested so much in. But you do still learn from that when you've been building these software tools. So what we ended up doing is keeping our current software, but the challenge was it can't run on mobile, it can't do anything now. Like in 2010 we needed web, now we need mobile. So instead of opting for the route of changing things, we had to look at, and you guys studying at Vinci will get your as is, as it will be, as it should be. If we carried on the path we were going, there's a good chance that in a few years' time we'd come up with something called MUN in the software world, which is modified until no good. So we didn't want to get there. So we took a step back and decided, okay, let's re-look at our product and how we do it. And we redesigned the entire product into a sort of web-friendly, mobile-friendly manner. Now, the product we've got now is fantastic. I dare say sexy. I don't know if enterprise software can be sexy. But traditionally what you would do in enterprise software, you'd have your version for your desktop, your version for web, your version for mobile, and then in mobile you'd have to get iOS, you'd have to get Android. And we took a bit of a step back on that when we were doing this rewrite from 2015, saying, well, do we need to expend that effort? And we kind of looked at different technologies out there and opted instead for what a lot of the social media platforms use to work on mobile, work on desktop and things like that. And we used a lot of those technologies to make our web platform friendly on all sides. So we didn't have to invest in that, building iOS, hiring developers there, building Android, hiring developers there. And one of the best affirmations we got of this was we went down to a client in Cape Town. I was sitting there, big corporate, medical space, multinational, and sitting with the chief risk officer of this company, and he was having a bit of a dig at me, saying, you know, he's got his iPad in front of him and he's looking through the app store and he's sitting there, he's like, you know, none of these enterprise software have apps available, and that's a complaint. It was a fantastic thing going up to him, taking his Apple iPad and saying, okay, cool, just putting in the address of their office, and then here you go, here's your system that as you're running on a desktop, off you go. And I mean, his eyes widened up, he was like a kid in a candy store, and I say it's difficult to get excited about enterprise software, but he really, really was. He could walk around now and do everything he needed to, just from an iPad. And that was that sort of looking around, seeing what different technologies are out there and how you can work smarter with your technology that we went on. And that's not the only thing we did with the product. We also looked at things like dashboards and how do our clients interact with the data that we present to them. If you look at your boards, your executive guys, they don't necessarily want to look at a pile of spreadsheets and tables. They want a dashboard, something visual. If you look at the bandwidth of the human body and the senses, your eyes have the most bandwidth to your brain. So let's do something visual. And let's do something that no one else is doing. So traditionally, if you're needing to build a dashboard or something for your board and all these professional softwares, it's a case of going to the company saying, okay, I need a dashboard. They go out, they build the dashboard for you, and 6 weeks later, iterations back and forth, you get about 80% of what you were hoping for, but you work around it at the end of it. Because you don't want to put that extra money in as a client to fix it to 100% if you can get around it. So what we said is we don't want to be the company that works that way, so we built out dashboards that our clients could then have control and build it themselves. So we give now a gallery of all these different things that you would see in a dashboard, pie charts, bar graphs, maps, anything like that. And whatever data you put there, you just drag and drop all these little components in yourself. There's no reporting that we come in for on that. And the best part that we wanted to do on that was that make it interactive. So with your board members, if they've got their iPads, they can go in and drill down themselves. So if you click on a slice of a pie, every other component in that dashboard filters down to exactly what you clicked on in that one piece. And then you can filter in the next one, and everything filters down again. And we figured that's like the coolest thing, and it's one of the things that's given us quite an industry edge, just listening and doing this. We still have our old reporting engines, because there's always a need for that, but again, we have passed that over. One of the important things that we realized along the way is that you shouldn't necessarily get married to a particular set of software or technologies. And again, speaking to that bias where you've invested so much in something, let's carry on investing in it and trying to patch it up. It's putting band-aids on. Not to say there's anything wrong with our reporting engine. We've been building it for 14 years, and it's leading as far as risk goes. But we want to have additional options for people who want to write their own stuff. So what we did is we started looking out for partners, got hold of Microsoft's reporting services. They build reporting services as part of their products, and they've got teams dedicated to it. And it works directly on the database, so the performance was fantastic. And we had to have that look around and that broader view and stepping back and looking over to see, okay, let's make this available. So now we have both of those systems available to our customers. So if they've got in-house skills, they can actually pick up those reports and do it themselves. So I mean, on the product side, I think that was our biggest things is that listening to customers and getting that. But to do the sort of management of technology like TIPS goes into. It's not just technology and software and product. I know that's what I've been talking about now, but I want especially you guys to know that technology is not just software. It's everything around us, and it's very difficult to separate technology out of TIPS when you've been at Da Vinci. So what we saw was in a lot of our departments, although each department ran really, really efficiently, they all ran in sort of silos. They had their own tools, they had their own ways of working, their own processes, and we took that sort of step back when we did all this redesign as well and said, right, how do we do this, and how do we do this in a smart way? And we looked at our product that we'd redeveloped, and we've got this fantastic tool in front of us, and we figured, we're paying thousands of rands a month in licenses for all these software packages from all over the globe, and we put forward that our software is incredibly flexible. Why don't we do this ourselves? So we took our risk management software that we have, and we built a CRM into it for in-office use. So that's customer relationship management. So if anyone comes into Cura now, we are actually using our own risk management software as a CRM tool. And the benefit that we didn't realize we were going to get from that was that every staff member in the company, in the projects teams, in the admin teams, in teams outside of services and support, are now using the tool and getting to know it. And the best way for a salesperson to sell a tool is if they're actually using it themselves, because they can actually see it. They're not just talking off a script. And we found tremendous, tremendous benefit in this going out there, in that so many of our internal staff now know the tools that we're running with. Again, part of it, and part of the school fees of going through this, is also learning where to draw the line of what you can and can't do. We wanted to put our support system in it, and found that that would need a lot more development on our side. And part of our management strategy is to be able to put the client first and make sure that we hit those features that the customer wants. So we didn't want to put that extra strain on dev, doing a function for internal that clients wouldn't use. We'd rather put that effort on our clients' requests. So we looked outside again, not getting married to a particular technology, and looked for our support tool elsewhere. We did have a support tool in place, and it worked globally, but it perhaps wasn't serving us in the best way when we started looking at how it affects the rest of the company outside of support. So we adopted a new tool called Jira, which we found could then combine our dev responsibility and our support responsibility, because both of those teams talk to each other every day. There's escalations every day. Why have everything separate? So we brought that in, put in our support system, and as good as the system was, I think what I want to highlight from a management and technology point is how we put the system in. So we rolled out the entire support system globally to all our branches and everything, from the idea of that's the tool we're going to go to going live, we did in 2 weeks globally. And that was done by planning and really involving stakeholders. And it's something that I think a lot of companies do incorrectly, is management says we're going to use this tool and that's how we're going to use it. Here you go, everyone, here's the tool, go forth. And people don't know how to use the tool, or they don't want to, there's resistance. So what we did is we spent basically the first 11 days going to every support consultant that's going to be using the tool, every support manager globally, saying, how do you want to use this tool? What's the best way? What's wrong with the current tool? What's the minimal way that we can use it? Because if you're using these technology tools, you don't want to be clicking for 3 weeks just to create one support call. You want to have it as quick as possible, so that if someone phones you, you click, 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 logged. So we spent our time dealing with everyone in all our teams to put together this tool that worked for everyone and got input from everyone. So when it came time to actually implement it, the biggest hurdle for us was just getting our current data into the new tool. So every team member that we rolled the tool out to already knew what was coming, because they'd all been involved in the process. They were excited for it because they knew they could work a lot quicker than currently. And now everything was the same globally. So anyone from any team, any branch, slot into another one and just work in the same manner. So it really was a cool way of doing things. And I think what I want to emphasize on that is that listening and making sure everyone hears what people are doing in their technology. It's all good and well to always listen to your customers, and that's great, but you need to listen to the feet on the ground in your company as well, particularly around the technology you're using. Otherwise, it's never going to be adopted in the organization. I think lastly, just to touch on what I said there, was with the services and the teams globally working on the same process. One of the biggest ways we got everyone out of these technological silos was to show everyone each other's processes. So many companies, you look at one team and you ask them, how does that team over there work? They don't know. That's that team's problem. That we hand it to them, but then we don't know. So what we did is we took a wall, put every team's processes up on A3 sheets of paper, popped it up, and drew lines between them where all the connection points are. And that's what we have in clip frames. Well, they should be in clip frames, they just come out of them very, very frequently. And the idea behind that is anyone can change our processes for technology. So if we're using our support call system and someone doesn't like the way we're working, they can walk up with a post-it note to this process and stick their little post-it note on and say, that doesn't work for me. We then, as a whole, for that team, review the process, how does it work? And every time the process changes, every other team knows actually what everyone's doing. So we can say, okay, you didn't follow process, look here. And the accountability that's created, the collaboration that's created has been fantastic in getting those teams going. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing I can absolutely say in sort of management of technology is knowing who your stakeholders are and what you want to do. Like getting that goal, planning it, listening to everyone around you, listening to the voices. What does the market say? What do clients say? And those are the normal processes you go through. It doesn't help if you don't listen to the people at the coalface and the people working on things day in, day out. You need to listen to them. So that's what we've done. I mean, if we want to look at the return on investment of the kind of things that we did on this, in the 2016 financial year, we did well. But come the next financial year, by the time we'd hit the end of quarter two, we'd increased that entire number by 10%. So it really helps to do this listening, to open your eyes, open your ears, and yeah. So I mean, I think that's been a whirlwind of how we did our management of technology. I'm open to any questions or anything. Tebo, over to you.
Cool. All right. So yeah, thank you for that, Ross. And I will invite questions before I get into your space, guys. You just joined us, so these are like the young students. They just finished matric last year, so you see, I'll be pulling them in. So don't mind. I think yes, who are kids? Yeah, question?
Sorry, I just wanted to find out. I know you guys were working on an audit module as well. You've got the audit module. How far is that going? Because I remember when I had discussions with you guys, we were busy with it.
So that's been part of the new work that we're doing in the new module.
Okay.
So we have an audit solution in the new module, and we're looking at combining it, where we, again, like where we had separate products, now getting them into that same stream. So it's one product that you buy that's capable of all of it.
The reason why I asked is because I think auditing is going to be a dying tool. Okay, because the way things are sort of panning out, especially in the risk, and I don't call it risk, I actually call it opportunities, because risk is an opportunity, it's not a risk per se. It's been given this bad connotation of it. It's generally taboo, but it's not. It's an opportunity. And with the way Steinhoff and all these guys have gone, I think auditing is now going to be automated within your actual systems, your control systems.
Yeah.
Because now the word auditing, if you look at the word auditing in Italian, means revisione, which is review. So basically, you as an auditor are actually just working backwards.
Yeah.
So what you're working reactively, not proactively. So I don't think auditing is where it is at the moment.
No.
As a matter of fact, a lot of the auditing firms have actually sort of digressed to other services that they offer.
So I can speak to that. I mean, that's one of our core focuses for this year going forward. So we're bringing in things like IoT and sensor data and things like that. So it's no longer doing your likelihood and things like that via let's click and it's about 80% likely. We can now say, okay, if you're, say, a grocery store trying to get your risk, we can say the fridge temperature in that section there has reached 9 degrees, therefore your risk of spoiling is, and it's all done automatically. So that's a massive, massive focus for us.
Well, I think that's what they did with the space station. They actually had that whole diagram, but they actually highlighted the problem areas in a diagram. So it was a one-shot dashboard.
Yeah, so that's exactly where we're heading.
Yes,
Mark,
Mark.
you've got a process on clipboards, snapper frames. So people have been involved in the process, and you have other people coming in and now changing the process with sticky notes. Do you have any sort of conflict within the team in terms of, excuse me, that's my process, what are you doing changing it?
Surprisingly not. But it's not a case of the second someone puts a post-it note on, that's how we're going to do it. There is a review that takes place from that, but we will involve that team. Like, is this a good idea? Because sometimes you will get an idea that actually breaks something further down. So we will actually review with the whole team again at the coalface. But
has your team always been like that? The reason I'm asking is I know that some of the teams that I've worked with are very attached to their ideas and don't like it being changed.
So we had it where there was a lot of ownership of a process that someone didn't want to let go of, and that was a large. We did a large drive internally to not have that, and that we're actually here for everyone, and the processes should be for everyone. The way I see it, the more someone holds on to something, actually the more of a liability it becomes, because that becomes a single point of failure then, if someone has that degree of control over one thing. So we try and collaborate across it. I mean, we will involve the team that's involved in the process, but then also, say, a leader in any other team that might be impacted, and we'll bring them in. So.
Yes,
Yeah, Ross,
Almeca.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Ross, thanks for your presentation. You said something about you guys listening to the market. And listening, I think the first time you started, you didn't listen. And somewhere along, or you did less listening. And somewhere along the line, you did more listening. And you began to improve your systems and yourselves. So, when you listen right now, do you get conflicting demands and from the people you are listening to? And how do you put it into your system?
So we do, particularly given regions. So we operate in multiple regions across the globe. And you often find what is a hot button topic for Australia is not going to be a hot button topic in South Africa. What's in Europe is not going to be what's a topic in the US. So we have a product advisory board that meets. So it's the heads of each division globally, as well as the heads of services, so the guys that are out in the field. And we basically every month take a 3-hour session as to what requests have come in from all the regions, and as the dev team, the support team, the services team, the exco, we all sit together and thrash that out as to which are the ones that we're going to go for, and how much effort we're going to spend on each one. We also have external advisors and partners that we have. So we've got 8 or 9 strategic partners that we will meet with to see if it's worthwhile pursuing certain things.
So you customize the system according to the demand of a particular area, or you still make it general? You say, okay, look, even though you guys in America or in Australia, you are demanding this, I cannot put it in because I'm trying to do something that is for everybody.
Yep,
you
so
to customize for regions or something like that.
Yeah, the way
a variant of the thing.
Yeah, so we have 2 ways of operating. The way our tool works is we don't customize the tool.
Okay.
So we have the software package which we can configure in different ways.
Okay.
So there are customers who want very, very specific things where we will go in. We've got a services team with business analysts in it that will go out and map that whole process end to end specifically to that particular customer. But then we also have the standards that will be a hot topic, so things like GDPR from Europe, so the General Data Protection Regulation, where that we will productize things as much as we can to say, right, here is standard content that everyone needs to comply with, here's standard processes everyone should follow, and we build that in so then a customer can add on their custom points after that. And then those mini solutions that we build inside the product, we can then take as a generalized offering and then do just very small configurations depending on the customer.
Oh, okay. So people don't come back to say, look, this is problematic.
It really depends on the enterprise. So I mean, we deal very much at enterprise level for the really nitty-gritty. I want a specific configuration, so you're looking at your Fortune 500 companies and things like that, in which case we will have dedicated teams for it. Whereas the more mid-level enterprise, we've found that they generally want a general system. It could be that their risk maturity they're a lot lower in their risk maturity, so they just want a standard that they can start with. So we will build a solution for an ISO standard that they can just take and run with.
When people use your product, what do they say? Do they come back to you guys feedback and say, look, since we started using this product, we are actually minimizing costs, we are optimizing profit, we are reducing risk, or what do you expect as feedback?
So we actually have an agency that we employ as well as ourselves in every region. Once we've completed installations, we will go and do interviews and white papers on particular clients. So we've had, just at the end of last year, we got 3 white papers for massive installations that we did for communications, for mining, and get that feedback. What sort of things did we do? Being part of IRMSA, which is the Institute of Risk Management, is they have awards where we need to provide proof that we are actually giving that benefit in order to do that. So we do that on a regular basis.
Okay, cool. Your software, you mentioned that you still you tap on the web browser. Do you have where it's in the mobile applications like this? Is it there already?
Yes.
So that was the interesting thing that we went through. So traditionally, everyone's always wanted, we need a mobile app to go along with it. So the way we designed it now is to do it in a sort of way. So we've got the mobile applications, but the web browser on a mobile works just as well. So we just say save a shortcut to your home screen and off you go.
You mentioned that you actually planning to IoT, Internet of Things or everything. So how are you going to do that? Are you partnering with mobile operators? How are you going to get to that
So we're currently...
environment?
So with that, we sort of have an API that we can bring the information in. So we, if I remember correctly, we're using Mosquito MQTT as a standard protocol where we can pull in that information from standard devices. So part of managing this kind of stuff is knowing where you're not going to go. So we won't go into providing the hardware for that, but we would want to tie into the standards that are provided, that someone could use us regardless of brand. Yeah, so at the moment we just pull in sort of like heartbeat signals from devices and so on. So.
Okay. Now we've had the questions from the gurus, and now time for us. And remember, my objective with this team is that these guys ask the difficult and what you call more relevant questions, but you guys have good questions. Can I prove it to you? Do you have questions? Brilliant. I want that. Ask Ross a question.
Do you think that in 10 years' time, technology is going to have a positive or negative impact in our country? Because the way I see it, I think many people are going to be replaced by technology in businesses. So I want to know if this will increase the high rate in unemployment.
That's an interesting one.
Mm.
That's the difficult question. Sorry.
We were leaving it for them.
In my opinion, I think as long as a lot of businesses start looking at things like automation and things coming in, I like to think that no, it's not going to happen. If you look at automation, artificial intelligence, things like that, it's very specific to a particular function. It's not like the movies or anything like that, where this AI is starting to take over the world. If you build an AI to play chess, it's going to play chess. It's not going to go and ride a bicycle. So I think and the only way we can do this and ensure that it doesn't happen is that if business realizes their role and responsibility in this. We've seen it in audit, where, like Rocco was saying, that it becomes automated and the industry may change completely. What we've seen with the automation that we've done in audit is that it's taken a lot of the boring work off the auditor, and the auditors are able to spend a lot more time doing the actual investigations and things that the automation can't do. So a lot of it is, I think, up to organizations where if you are changing over to that automation, AI and technology, I think there's a bit of an obligation from those organizations to look after those staff members that are getting affected by the automation, to actually get them to that next level. And I think if organizations aren't doing upskilling programs, we do development programs with all our staff. Where do you need to be? Where do you need to go? The big corporates do this. That should very much be part of that. How are you upskilling people so that automation is a complement to the job and not actually something that wipes it out entirely? If that helps.
Are you happy?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Another question? Last two? Yeah?
Okay, so let's say if someone in your team would then take the software you created, go to someone else, and do something similar to that, then how would you go about improving what you have?
I think the point is to not stop improving. If someone has to, so for one, they'd have to really steal the source code, and that's a whole nother legal matter. That's not even on the innovation. But if someone takes the ideas on the software that we've got, I mean, we're in a relatively small industry, to be perfectly honest. So a lot of the people that move around in our industry move to competitors and through competitors. And if we stop innovating, that's when someone's going to overtake us. So the idea is to be looking out for this IoT stuff and saying that's coming. If we look at reports on a regular basis. Like I said, we have partners. We work with Gartner. We go look at Gartner's predictions for the next 2 years. What's the up and coming things like IoT, automation? And then we focus on those so that when those 2 years are up, we're still focusing on what's the next stuff 2 years down the line. If we had to stop and sit now and someone tries to recreate what we've got now, they would have what we have now in a year's time from building it, but we're a year down the line already.
And you said you produce like 60-something people. So then how would you cope with the tension and stress of other bigger competitors?
Hiring the right people.
And how do you
So we have a rigorous interview process, very rigorous, and people say a bit much. But the trick is getting the right people in the roles. Yeah.
Well done.
I don't.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
Go again on that. Sorry, I'm losing myself in my own answer.
Sorry, can
And
I
I
help
think
you
it
there?
was. Yeah.
Go.
Can I help you? We've been using Curious since 2009 at the company Intellectual Property Commission. So since 2009, it's almost 10 years down the line, and they're still going. They've had chops and changes, they've moved, they've innovated. So it's still there. Barnell is still there. There are a couple of others also. ACL, I think, is one of the other ones.
ACL.
They're also still there. So the market is very big for this because remember, risk, everybody's looking at this thing risk. Like I said, it's not risk, opportunity. So people tend to use it and people haven't bought into the concept as well. A lot of companies are talking about governance. Now they've brought governance into this whole process. So governance is the way you carry on and the ethics and all of that. It's still very, very young. It's at an infant stage at the moment, the way risk is being handled and governance as well. So you need to look at this. It's going to get bigger because you've got a lot of organizations. And to add to this, you're going to have the fraud element coming into it, fraud and corruption. Because fraud and corruption is just growing by the millisecond at the moment, the way things are going. And as a matter of fact, people are now starting to go in a different route. They're using analogs now to analyze the information, the data that's in the system. So with the tool that they've got, you add on to that, so you become more competitive and more thorough in what you're actually doing.
Thanks, Rocket. Yeah, you've got to, it's again speaking to that continual innovation and staying ahead. So I mean, the industry among competitors is, I mean, as much as it's a cutthroat industry, it's very civilized among the competitors. So a lot of the guys know each other and all of that, and it comes down to, is your product serving the need that it needs to? Are your teams serving the need that it needs to? We're quite heavy on professional services in our industry, so it's who's providing that good advice, who've got the staff that are able to provide that advice and meet those needs.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ross. Yes, Tuma?
Ross, I'm curious about workforce diversity. Now, the question is, to what extent do you think workforce diversity influences the organizational culture?
Oh, completely. I think it affects it and it influences it completely. Being a multinational company, I think we get quite a bit of exposure. And I think being a South African company, it gives you even more. We've got so many cultures here. And I mean, something we try and foster is for people to talk. And we've got guys from so many backgrounds. I mean, we're only 20 people in our office, but we've got guys from all sorts of backgrounds in there. We have programs bringing people in. We use outsourced consultants. So we're sort of across the board. We're also across the board age-wise as a company because we want those advanced skills. We've got a lot older staff members. We also have a lot younger staff members coming in with new, fresh ideas straight out of varsity as to how we do things. So that influences a lot. But having offices in India, having offices in Australia, in the US, and the fact that, like I said, we work the same way in all of them, and we've got a very distributed structure. We don't have the whole management team sitting in one country. Our CEO's in Boston, our COO's in Hyderabad, our head of solutions is in Melbourne, head of technologies in South Africa. So the teams are constantly interacting all the time, all day, at different time zones, different hours. And you have to learn to be really, really nimble and diverse for that. I mean, Indian culture in India is different to Indian culture in South Africa. And the South African cultures are so diverse between them. And we try and encourage dialogue, even just in our South African teams. We do fun little team buildings and questions like Heritage Day. We make sure everyone stands up and actually talks about their culture, not just dress up and come to the office. It's actual, let's teach each other and things like that. It's something we hold quite dearly.
Impressive, thank you.
Yeah. Well done, guys. I'm so proud of you. Yeah. So I'm going to close it up unless there's really a burning question. You want to ask?
Over here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. I just wanted to know where do you actually balance out between artificial intelligence, considering you in the tech space, and well, the jobs or the security of jobs in the tech space, considering that artificial intelligence could be a threat in terms of jobs. So how do you actually balance out those two? Does it threaten the jobs?
There's always the potential of it threatening, but by the same, the same time that there's a risk of threat, there's an opportunity of benefit. So if you take a look at AI improving someone's quality of work or taking out, if you think of something like a data analyst, if they are wanting to look into data, AI is a fantastic tool to help them look through data, not have them hindered trying to just sift through stuff. AI can return the results and they can actually get on with their job a lot quicker. But like I said earlier, I think it's the obligation of companies that are implementing this to see what sort of impact it's going to have on the human side of the business. And like I said earlier, I think every company needs to be developing their teams, and if that's coming in, that's an opportunity for a company to develop people out of it. That said, AI, there are inherent problems with AI as well. AI has its own biases. As much as we want to say that AI is unbiased because there's no human factor, AI picks up patterns, and there could be patterns that can come out as biased on the other side. So there's a lot of work being done into it.
Just briefly.
Very briefly.
Yeah, briefly.
Okay.
You know, in the 80s when computers were getting to be popularized, and you know, the fear was the computer was going to take jobs from everybody. Remember that story? You know, anybody who was growing up at that point in time will remember that there was a fear. It was that computers would take jobs from everybody. But if you check the population increase within this period, and check the number of people employed within this period relative to the number of people we had at that point in time, you can see that the computer has not been able to do that. It hasn't taken away jobs from people. So the fear that artificial intelligence, I think this guy spoke about it before he died, that he's afraid that artificial intelligence might take jobs away from people. You have to imagine the quantity of, or the nature of advancement that's going to happen for that to take place. Okay, so we wouldn't know that for now, for sure. You get the point. So it could be a fear of something that might happen in the next 400 years or thereabout. But I doubt whether we will be able to know that for sure, considering the fact that, you know, the vagaries of human mind is such that you cannot for sure, you know, capture it in either in one theory or in one mechanism. So that fear will remain in the minds of people. But evidence behind which you can check has shown that that is a fear that doesn't really come to fruition. But don't read it out entirely.
Very well.
No, brilliant insight. Yeah. Okay. Just very briefly.
And thanks for your indulgence. So somebody touched on the issue of culture here. In your organization, how do you, or what is it in the organization that drives or sustains innovation, other than remuneration, if remuneration is effective?
So we don't really have a remuneration-based incentive for innovation and things like that. It's an interesting culture we've got in that a lot of our culture is, so like I said, we sort of have that startup drive and mentality, and we try to maintain that, in that anyone in the company can come up with a good idea. We've seen, particularly with the IoT stuff, that was one of the guys in the dev team in India who thought he reckons he probably can do this, could he do it? And he played for a weekend and came back with like a working proof of concept on the Monday. But we as a company and our culture is very, very open to anyone coming back with ideas like that, and we will take them forward. And it's our last 5 or 6 solutions have all been suggested from team members. So we're looking at GDPR, as we've got a whole product that's just been launched on that, which came from an internal team member, not from a think tank or anything like that. We've got an entire cybersecurity module that was built in a couple of evenings by one of our junior consultants that had just started. So we do reward when that happens, so you might get a percentage of all future sales of that solution or something like that. It's not like, okay, you win 10,000 Rand. That you'll get actually a percentage on that solution for the duration of its sale.
Wow. Okay.
But when you leave, you lose it.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Guys, specifically, you, thank you so much for the questions. And then I've highlighted those that asked, and next time it's the 10 for those that did not ask prior. Okay, but I mean, my wish for you as you come in is that you ask questions, and there's no stupid question. We understand exactly where you are, but I don't want you to miss out on the opportunity to ask, opportunity to learn, an opportunity to contribute, and I believe you've got what it takes. So thank you for those questions. And Ross, to you, thank you so much, and thank you for allowing my young fellows to keep questioning you.
Anytime.
Yeah, so, and we really appreciate it from Da Vinci point of view. I'm gonna give you this just to say thank you, man. Thank you for honoring our invite. Yeah, thank you.